Hello, everybody. It's Jody Franklin here. I'm the admin for this group. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful group. And I thought I would bring my teacher, Tracy Harrison, on today. She is the founder and the lead educator for the School of Applied Functional Medicine. And I know there's been a lot of really cool changes happening with the school. And there have been so many questions in this group about the changes happening that I thought I'd bring you on live today and just talk about what's going on with that. So welcome, Tracy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jody. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So take a couple minutes and just describe the changes that have been made to the SAFM program. And those of you watching, if you have some questions you'd like to type in below, please do so, and we'll try to get to those at the end.
Yes, I welcome any and all questions, whatever I can do to add clarity or value for your participants here. But we certainly have been receiving a lot of questions because we've made some dramatic changes in the curriculum and the offering. And Jody, I think the best way to describe this is that we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary at SAFM for offering functional medicine training to practitioners. And in the run-up, it was officially 10 years ago in May, but in the in the run-up to that, back last autumn when we were doing planning for the new year, obviously a key part of that is taking a look at how far we've come and what impact have we made, right? What difference have we made? Because something that's always been really important to me personally is to be honest, I never, 15 years ago, I never set out to open a school. I never set out to offer an advanced training program. What I was deeply passionate about because of the journeys with my husband, my family, having some really traumatic and galvanizing experiences with my friends' own disease journeys. My passion all along has been to have an impact. And so something that's been an underpinning of SAFM's mission from the very beginning is education in functional medicine, training in functional medicine, learning more about the science and how to apply it. Realistically, none of it matters at all if we're not using it to help transform healthcare, if we're not actually doing the work. And the run up to our 10-year anniversary was a really good opportunity to just reflect on our overall mission and where we've been succeeding hugely to not just educate practitioners and give them a few more pearls or a few protocols or a little more insight or some CMEs, but where are we succeeding the greatest with having people actually transform their practices, transform the way they do this work, and really achieve fulfillment, personal fulfillment as a practitioner, and then really have astounding clinical results, right? Where are we most achieving our mission, our purpose for being? And reflecting on this and really holding ourselves accountable, not just to growing the school. I mean, the school's been growing quickly. We've been very blessed with that for a number of years. But how can we grow in a way that ensures our impact? Grow in a way that doesn't just educate students, doesn't just hand out certifications, but actually ensures the impact of giving practitioners resilient capability and confidence to actually do the work in a way that doesn't burn them out, in a way that's not overwhelming. That's why we're doing this. And so basically, what we spent a lot of time strategically planning was how do we want to evolve our programs in order to ensure impact. And what that inspired us to do is to get crystal clear on the need to give practitioners in our tribe, on our watch, all of the tools they need to do this work. And the biggest change for that in terms of our offering is streamlining and distilling down all of our different educational content into one singular program offering, one singular transformative training program. And I'm really using the word training because education can be practically useful or not. A lot of education just checks the box. It, as we like to say, it gets us the 3-ring binder. We pick up a few factoids, but is it going to transform what we're doing 6 months later, 6 years later, 600 patients later? I want to hold us accountable to a higher bar. And so rather than offering a lot of individual kind of onesie twosie type of courses or singular semester offerings, what we're offering now is a singular aggregate transformative training program. And we're also adding a whole new module to that, which is super exciting. We've been working on it for a long time on clinical skills about how to most effectively apply all of this science, all of this learning, all of this case practice to either the lengthier cash pay entrepreneurial type of model, the short, limited managed care insurance-based model, or group programs. Because I'm really passionate about the promise of functional medicine transforming healthcare using all 3 of those pathways. And so we want to make sure that practitioners get that devil in the detail skills and toolbox in order to actually apply what they learn. Right now, I think one of the biggest challenges, or a couple of the biggest challenges in functional medicine, is there are way too many really intelligent, heart-centered, driven practitioners out there who know about functional medicine, but they're not practicing functional medicine. And we know those are 2 different things. And my heart hurts for that, to be honest, because to know that you want to rise to a higher calling, that you want to practice a different way, and to feel totally stymied to do it in a deeply satisfying way is frustrating at best and demoralizing at worst. But the other problem that I think functional medicine has is this belief that the way functional medicine has evolved so far, which is really about asking a practitioner to leave, and I'll speak for a moment for medical practitioners, right? Those that are coming out of a conventional tradition, requires them to leave everything they've built, maybe their seniority, their years of experience, their salary, their job security, all of these kinds of things, to walk away from that, to jump ship, set up an entrepreneurial practice. People may or may not want to be an entrepreneur, may or may not want to practice independently. But to go into more of a cash pay type of practice, which also, let's be honest, is only accessible to a very small subset of the patient populations we're passionate about serving. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's the business model that functional medicine has grown from that has brought us the experience and the tools and the validation that have now made this science and this know-how, this lens through which we see human health and disease. It's a huge blessing that we've gotten here with that model. But that model is never going to transform healthcare. But it requires that everybody give up too much. It requires that a practitioner, like I said, give up a job, an environment, maybe a patient population that they're, or a community that they're deeply love serving. It requires that the patient give up on whatever coverage they might get from national care or managed care and go outside the system and have everything be cash based. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that model alone, if that's what we're putting all of our drive for healthcare transformation on, friends, we're not going to get very far. We're just not. That can't be the only solution. It becomes functional medicine for the very risk tolerant, entrepreneurial minded practitioner, and functional medicine for the pretty wealthy patient or client. And we just don't have to be limited in that way. There are an amazing set of tools and approaches and clinical models that can be used in order to implement healthcare transformation through the functional medicine lens in that model, but also in the managed or national care model, or in more of a group program, group workshop type of model. I also think we need this type of variety and diversity in order to allow all different healthcare and wellness modalities to participate. That's something, as you know, that I'm deeply grateful for and proud of at SAFM, is that our student body has incredible modality diversity. We're at, I think, 21 modalities right now, about 2/3 to 3/4 medical practitioners, various licenses, and then about 1/4 different complementary and support and wellness modalities. So it's incredible variety. But sorry, it's a long answer to your question, but I get really passionate about it because we've got to rise together to actually doing this work, not dabbling in it, not just doing it a little bit on the side. And there are some people who wish to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we want to transform healthcare, we need an army, a huge tribe of inspired practitioners actually doing the work with all the tools and all the know-how they need to do that fully. And so we know from a decade of experience what it takes to do that. And a dabbling kind of education is not going to cut it. It doesn't. It ends up where I've seen it all the time over the years, right? A practitioner ends up with a moderate amount of knowledge, a little amount of practical know-how in terms of how to apply it, maybe a little bit of case practice, which tends to lead to overwhelm and a struggle. And if we want to help transform healthcare, this work can't just permanently be a struggle. We know what practitioners need. And so we packaged it all together, and it's not for everyone. I think that's really important to point out. What we offer is intense and detailed and rigorous. It's about 700 hours of curriculum study. And that's really different from a lot of other functional medicine training programs. In fact, we used to offer more kind of chunks of that experience. But our rubber hits the road experience over the years is that getting a little chunk here and a little chunk there doesn't transform practices. It doesn't transform practitioners in terms of fulfillment, and it doesn't transform patient results. And so we're really in it now. We're doubling down on our mission, because on our watch, I want to ensure, not hope, not try, but ensure that we have a massive impact in having practitioners get out and do this work with enthusiasm and support and honest to goodness capability and confidence. And so for me, that's not optional. And the reality is that if people want to get just a little bit of experience, if they want to do a 6 or 7 month program, more of a 100-hour program, there are plenty of wonderful offerings out there in the functional medicine world. In fact, to be honest, the majority of our students at SAFM have done another program before they come to us. That's a stat we've confirmed a few times. They've attended another functional medicine program, and many of them actually have other certifications, which may give them the knowledge that they need. That may be enough for them, but it's also for many a galvanizing experience that affirms in them that they want to know more. They want to have a good, rich capability and confidence, not just a superficial knowledge, not just a stack of protocols to reference, or a basket of tools and tricks. But to actually transform their practice. And so there are lots of places where people can go to get more of an introductory experience, and that's welcome. I'm delighted. In fact, part of why we have been so comfortable doubling down on a richer experience. SAFM training is much more like a master's degree. I felt confident doing that because there are other options out there for folks who just want to get a lighter dive into functional medicine. We're blessed to have a nice community of different educational offerings out there. And it's really important that people do their research for themselves, understand the differences between them, and really choose what they personally are looking for, because they're all quite different. And each of us is different in terms of what are our goals, what are our desires for professional development and actualization.
I just love everything that you said there, Tracy, because I will say oftentimes people would ask me, how do you have so much success in your practice? And I actually was one of those people who took every course you offered. And now I love that it's all part of one program now, because everybody's going to get that experience. And I graduated SAFM back in 2017. And I have to say, it has been so transformational for me and my practice. I have people lined up to work with me just through osmosis, not even putting any advertising out there. It's just word of mouth from really satisfied clients. And
yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that is something I don't want, regardless of where people get their training for a minute. But I want to talk about one of the biggest sources of overwhelm for practitioners doing this work is the marketing, right? The building not just a few clients here and there, but a full practice with a waiting list, because you don't want the majority of your time to be sucked into marketing work and this type of thing, or for that matter, attracting a lot of people who are curious about functional medicine, but are not going to have a good experience with you because they don't know what to expect and they're not ready for it. But when you start to do a really great job in helping individual patients or clients to not just get a little better, but to get well and then stay well, and they naturally, through human generosity and reciprocity, start sharing that with everybody they know, their family, their friends, their colleagues, it builds this incredible gift. And it is a gift. And I really appreciate so much you're bringing it up. I benefited from this personally in my own practice. They start building a waiting list of qualified referrals. It's not just people who are curious about you, but people who have a friend or a family member or colleague or a neighbor who's told them all about what functional medicine is, what it's like to work for you, how they have to do the work, what's going to be involved, the role of lifestyle change, the role of self-assessment, the role of accountability, the role of data, all these kinds of things. And they come in expecting it, which makes it so much easier to do this work, because then you can focus on the clinical engagement, the clinical intervention, the partnership, right? These savvy clinical partnerships that we seek to form with individual patients. And that is huge. And it's something that I think is essential, because there's no easier way to burn out than to be scrabbling to get clients or patients in your practice, scrabbling to get those, scrabbling to keep a constant load, struggling to do marketing when that's not really your thing, struggling to have an entrepreneurial business when you don't really want to do that. There's too much overwhelm in the business related aspects of this. And we've got to find ways to bring more ease to that, so that as a community of practitioners, we can do the work that we are particularly skilled at and passionate about, the clinical work. And what you just described, we call the model, the wildly successful model, right? When you have patients that are wildly successful in actually re-attaining their resilient health, they tell people, they can't help but tell people. And those raving fans can easily fill your practice. And that's something that we see happen over and over and over again with people who can get exceptional and consistently exceptional, not 100%. Nobody gets 100% exceptional clinical results, but has it as a pattern, a reputation, something that you're known for. There's such massive demand for what we do, massive pent up demand. There's no lack of demand. It's just a matter of you and your reputation and what sets you apart to become known, and not just well known in your community, but well known by people who are looking for you. And so I appreciate your sharing that. It's a huge cause of burnout. And my goodness, I don't want people who have amazing skills to burn out and not do this work because of that stuff.
Well said. And I will say that the program has given me such confidence, and that just shines through when I'm talking to people, that she knows what she's talking about. And that it's just a great place, a great feeling to have. I feel like I have a skill set that very few people on the planet have, honestly. And I am sought out all over the place just for some of the things that I've been able to help people with. But by the same token, what you mentioned in using it in a clinical practice with a managed care practice, I see my colleagues in the school that are doing just that. And just even one of my colleagues who now has the highest patient ratings in her practice because she's using this in her practice now. And she was 25 years a family nurse practitioner. And now all of a sudden in this multi-location practice, she is the #1 practitioner with raving reviews about her, and everybody's saying to her, what are you doing in there in that 15 minutes that you're with that patient? I mean, it's really remarkable, the results.
What she's doing is healthcare transformation, right? Absolutely. She's working to offer the skills and the potential of what she knows within the constraints of a managed care system. It can absolutely be done. Is it the same as doing it in an entrepreneurial model? Of course not. It's really quite different. But absolutely, there are incredible patient gains to be made in that space. And it doesn't surprise me at all that she's the most highly rated. Can you imagine in a traditional kind of managed care practice for the people who are desperate for more, who are seeking that education, inspiration, empowerment, transformation, to finally find a nurse practitioner who will take their insurance, who will work, doesn't require them to leave their practice in order to get the benefits of this. I have a cousin, actually. I remember a few years ago, it's like winning the lottery. I didn't think this existed in healthcare. I think that's what we have to transform, for sure.
Absolutely. By the way, Tammy just commented that she's a student. She says she has found SAFM solidified my understanding of functional medicine after taking several programs. My practice has grown with satisfied clients. I love the education and Tracy's passion and mission. So it's just one of the other raving fans, but that kind of leads me to my next question. And maybe you've sort of answered this, but what really differentiates yourself? I happen to know Tammy, and she's been to extensive training in the past and decided that she really didn't really know how to use it as effectively as she wanted to. So she came to SAFM. But what really distinguishes SAFM from the other programs out there?
Well, I don't think it's any secret that I started SAFM because of what was missing and is still missing in the vast majority of functional medicine training when I embarked on my own deep educational drive. And the first one, I guess there are three things that I think are worth highlighting. The first one harkens back to something you said earlier, which is you were talking about your practice and your own clients' feedback and how you feel, and that you really know what you're talking about. This is something I feel really strongly about. There are way too many practitioners out there using protocols that if they had to develop them themselves, they don't have the knowledge to be able to do so. And this is what I call the handy dandy chart, right? where we're using protocols that we don't actually understand on a deep, rich scientific level why they work, and how specifically do they need to be customized for the uniqueness of Mary and Fred and Jose and Greta who walk in your practice, right? When we're using protocols and we don't actually really richly, deeply understand everything that informs and creates that protocol, that's overwhelming too. That's stressful. It doesn't feel as authentic as we want it to feel. And so I think one of the things that makes us different is a deep, rich, rigorous dive in the science. There are no handy dandy charts at SAFM anywhere, because I really want practitioners to actually learn the science from the ground up. And so when you encounter a protocol, right, you could have created it yourself. You could have put it together organically yourself, because you actually understand what is at play and what needs to be addressed. That's something that in fact, regardless of where people get their functional medicine training, this is something I would offer to everyone. If you want to do this work and you don't want to be overwhelmed, and again, another key part of overwhelm is maybe a hidden sense of inauthenticity. You got to do the deep dive study yourself. You've got to really learn the science. It's one of the reasons why we do, it's actually one of our students' favorite things is curated research reference lists, right? We may review several hundred peer-reviewed clinical articles, and we may choose the 10 or the 12 that we think are most impactful and most relevant, which is not intended to keep people from doing deep study. In fact, we believe deep study is necessary for really transforming your career and having that strong sense of authenticity and ease. We just want to make it more efficient, so that you're not out there scrambling to try and find the best, the most relevant, the most reliable resources. So we're big into curation of that. But I believe strongly that handy dandy charts are a real problem in functional medicine, because it leads a lot of people labeling themselves a functional medicine practitioner, and they're referencing a handy dandy chart that basically tells them what to do, but they don't actually have a deep, rigorous understanding of the science and the ability to really practically apply the protocol and the rich diversity of real life complex case scenarios that show up in our offices on a day-over-day basis. So that's the first piece. The second piece is what we call the devil in the detail know-how, which is really about putting together all the puzzle pieces, the overlapping interconnected puzzle pieces for real life cases, because nobody comes to us just with insulin resistance, or just with hypertension, or just with SIBO, right? Or pancreatic insufficiency. I don't know about you, but I haven't seen anybody like that ever. People come with entrenched multifactorial, multi-system, multifunctional imbalance disease. And so learning just about the gut, or learning just about autoimmune dynamics, or just about toxicity is really misleading, because pretty much in everybody we work with, we got to confidently navigate all those things overlapping each other, and be confident at the ever-present question, where do I start? Right? If you feel not confident about where do I start, it makes it much harder to begin. It makes it much harder to show up with galvanizing confidence doing this work. And so that is a key, I think, thing that makes us different. And the other thing is just massive amounts of real life case practice, not fake cases, but real life cases from your peers, right? From real live current clinical cases that SAFM students are facing in their practice. We use those as teaching cases and do a serious deep dive into them, because the best way to to have confidence is to have, deep experience with dozens and dozens of case examples. That also is really important from an authenticity viewpoint. But the other thing I want to mention is community. I just want to say thank you, Jody, for having this platform, for having this community. But I also want to say thank you to the people who spend time on this page supporting each other. Because one of the hardest things in the landscape of functional medicine, not right now, it's been true for years, but right now is it takes a lot of courage to do this work. It takes a lot of courage to step out of the norm, out of the status quo, out of the standard of care as a singular limited vision and do something different, to see a higher vision, a higher potential for this work. That takes a lot of courage. Some days it is lonely. It can be isolating, depending on who you're working with and what type of clinical model you're in and where you're practicing. You may face people ignoring how you practice. You may see people criticizing or even denigrating you for the way that you practice. You may feel threatened. You may feel vulnerable. Those are very real things. And I take a real strong stand for all practitioners who are trying to do this work, for the moxie, the courage and the commitment it takes to do it. And so what I know is essential for doing this work and on an ongoing basis is that community, warm, heart-centered, multimodality, global community to support one another, not just supporting one another with case recommendations or help putting the puzzle pieces together, or how do I get access to a stool test in Dubai? How do I get access to food sensitivity testing in New Zealand? What do I do about this scenario when supplements are illegal? There's all sorts of practical questions, but also just supporting one another emotionally, supporting each other from a heart-centered tribe to do this work. And when the status quo beats you down, getting the support and the reinforcement and the affirmation that you need to get up tomorrow and do it again. It takes courage to be on the forefront of change of any industry, but perhaps especially healthcare, because of how much the entrenched status quo model is fiercely defended. And to be fair, the more progress we make, friends, with making a difference, the more fiercely defended it is. That's actually a sign that you're having an impact. When people start to pay more close attention to dissenting views, to alternative approaches, and they're not just ignoring you, but they're paying attention, and it's raising their ire and their criticism and their scrutiny, it means you're making progress. It means you're making a difference, and that's actually a good thing. But it also means that some days are hard. And so our community is something that's just precious. It's amazing, the amount of support that happens in the practitioner forum 7x24, with people really supporting each other. And the thing that I love about our protected practitioner forum is it's all people who are deeply conversant in functional medicine. We're not distracted and diluted with a lot of very basic kinds of questions or tangential inquiries and this kind of thing. It's people who are committed to really the capability and the confidence of doing this work. And it brings a different level of maturity and depth to the questions and the support that take place. And at least for us, again, other schools are offering other solutions, but for us, I want that deep, rich, lifelong professional learning and professional community and clinical support. Not to be diluted with sort of, dabbling in functional medicine, dabbling in concepts, checking it out, just learning a few tidbits, this type of thing. We're trying to transform healthcare. We can't afford that distraction because we've got to go for the impact. We want to have an impact. And so I think those are some of the things that make us different. I'm sure that you've got practitioners here who could say it better in their own words. I deeply honor the importance of people speaking from their own unique experience in what they like and don't like, and what they find galvanizing and what they don't. Again, we're very blessed to be in good company with a lot of different educational outlets.
Definitely. And if any of you are interested, Dr. Jo Braid is a colleague of mine in this group, and I interviewed her in this group, and she actually attended 5 different functional medicine schools. I think she spent a couple $100,000 on her functional medicine education, and finally was galvanized to attend SAFM after she realized her midwife working for her, nurse midwife, knew so much, and when she was so impressed with her knowledge, she said, "How did you know all these things?"
That's cool.
One thing that Dr. Braid said is that SAFM really feels like a community. She said that, it's an online program, it's a global program, but she really felt that sense of community and support that she never got in any other program. So I love that she said that. And even in the collaborative groups that we have in the school, where you have these small groups that get together.
The tribe masterminds.
It's amazing. Tribe masterminds. I love it. They're just amazing. The other thing I love is that you mentioned the efficiency of having those curated references. And I will say, in this group, there was a comment somebody made, not to disparage anybody, but she said, all you have to do is look up PubMed and get the research yourself, which you certainly can do. There's so much information out there, but I don't have that kind of time to go through hundreds of research papers in order to figure out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't have the experience that you had going through. So I love that I swear you eat research papers for breakfast, because I've seen the amount of research you put into the school. And I know that the research references that you're giving are things that I can share with my clients, and things that are spot on, exactly what I'm looking for. And that it just saves me so much time. So I can spend more time with my clients instead of on the back end researching things. So I love that as well.
Yeah, but I also want to say, in terms of the individual you mentioned who talked about, you need to, because I really honor what she's saying. It harkens back to what I mentioned earlier. We've got to do the deep dive study. And so I deeply appreciate that not everybody thinks a good Saturday is a whole day on PubMed, but I do. And if there's others who feel that way, fantastic. I love that, right? It is an organic way to engage yourself in the learning. And man, is there a massive amount of discovery that has been made through the functional medicine lens in just the past 2 or 3 years alone. But I agree with you. It takes thousands of hours, and there's nothing efficient about it at all. So for people for whom that resonates, go for it. But certainly one of the reasons that we created SAFM is to make that efficient curation available to people. But I really agree with the whole, you got to do the deep, in-depth study yourself. I think regardless of where people get their training, please, I just want to share the learning that we've had over the years. When people try to bypass that, it leads to burnout, because it leads to a superficial sense of confidence, a survey of awareness around functional medicine concepts. And it's like anything else that you really want to master. There is no substitute for putting in the time in order to become deeply entrenched in the knowledge that you want to master and in the practical application of what you want to master. So like I said before, we're not taking that away from people. What we're doing is distilling it all down in order to make it more efficient, and then giving people tons of case practice and community support in becoming quite skilled and experienced in doing it. But I really, and I'm a scientist by original training and original passion. And there's no substitute for really richly understanding the science yourself. It makes you feel on fire, doesn't it? Like, and I know you and I've joked about this before. You get to the point where you honestly feel really authentically, no matter who walks in your door, you think, I can help you. I can help you. And that is a fantastic feeling of capability and potential. It's that actualization that I think an awful lot of practitioners want. I don't want to help people to just manage disease. There are plenty of patients just looking for that. That's great. We have plenty of that, right? But for people who are looking for that partnership to actually thoroughly understand and reverse and transcend and resiliently stay away from the disease dynamics that they are struggling from, there is no feeling of on fire satisfaction than when someone, you know, used to have multiple sclerosis and they don't, and someone who used to have highly debilitating arthritis and they don't. That is what I think a lot of practitioners are craving, is that deep sense of capability and confidence.
For sure. Really well said, Tracy. And it's so gratifying doing this kind of work, just knowing what a deep impact you're having on people's lives and just really changing lives for the better. Just amazingly gratifying work.
I want to ask you real quick, Jody. Something I'm really passionate about is also, you know, the multi-practitioner, multi-modality teams. You've grown your practice, right, in terms of hiring others to work in your team.
I have, out of necessity, Tracy.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, so that's something I'm really passionate about, right? And I just want to comment on some of these things, because whether folks are interested in being SAFM students or not, for everyone who's trying to do this work, to build this business, another major cause of overwhelm and burnout is trying to do it all yourself. Please don't do that. None of us are Superwoman or Superman, and we're all more skilled at certain aspects of this work. And whether it is doing the upfront intakes, or doing the deep dive assessment and mapping, whether it's pulling together the basket of lab data and looking at the interconnectedness and the conclusions that can be drawn across lab panels, or doing the patient education, doing the patient follow-up and accountability, doing oversight and Q&A and check-ins about supplements. There's all sorts of roles, and roles that are about practical application in a clinical model that can be done from a rich diversity of different practitioners based on training. But I have seen so many just really lovely and driven practitioners burn out by trying to do it all themselves. I'm going to build the business. I'm going to do all the marketing. I'm going to do all these presentations to draw people to our practice. I'm going to do all the follow-up calls. I'm going to do all, even if they have an admin, right? Which you definitely must have. And I highly recommend investing in it before you think you need it. So assuming someone's helping you with billing and scheduling and emails and follow-up and form movement and files and HIPAA and all this kind of stuff. Trying to do all of it, every single stage themselves. And it's a serious recipe for burnout. It's also really hard to have a wildly profitable practice that allows you to charge a rate to your patients or clients that you feel great about, but also allows you to earn a good, abundant living for your work. Multimodality practice allows everyone to be way more efficient, and for everyone to be in their zone of genius and their zone of excellence in doing the work. And it's another reason why I love having a multimodality community and giving students a chance to connect with one another, not only to have a study buddy or to learn from each other, but to have conversations about clinical teamwork and referral relationships, or hiring, or joint projects and workshops. And the sky's the limit in terms of the number of different opportunities to pull together and do more and be more, because we're approaching it together rather than the old school, I got to do it myself, right? I'm gonna bolster my credibility and my professional standing by not needing anyone else. I don't think it's about needing. I think everyone who's in this mission is very intelligent and driven and capable. It's about getting smart about how we practically, clinically do this work. But I have only seen a very small handful of people do this work on an ongoing basis on their own successfully by doing it all themselves, unless you want to serve in particular extremely wealthy clientele, which is a totally valid business model. Extremely wealthy clientele where you offer a very high touch, high input model in exchange for very high prices. It's certainly a viable business model, but again, the available clientele for that business model is really quite limited. And it's certainly not the foundational, the bulk model that's going to help us transform healthcare for the vast, vast majority of patients on this planet who are looking for, desperately looking for, seeking this type of medicine, this type of good medicine.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. I also, another way I've leveraged myself is to offer the group programs. And like you said, connecting with the colleagues, I'm doing this with a colleague. I have a program called Vanishing Vitiligo. We're running it again this fall. She has worked with vitiligo as well. And we're doing a big group program coming up this fall on that. And it's a great way to leverage and add a new dimension to your business. So I love that you're teaching that in the clinical skills.
Yeah. And using a group program, which is great, by the way, because there's less of an investment hurdle for people to get involved. You get all that juicy education stuff right up front. People get natural accountability and social proof and inspiration from the other people in the group. They make progress. And then if they want to matriculate into your one-on-one portion of your practice, they are seriously educated about what you offer and what you don't. They're highly informed already. They've made a lot of progress, and you can seriously get some clinical wins and help them in dramatic ways that are more challenging. And so in that way, the group program as an introductory offering, but also as a feeder program, it certainly offers a wonderful option as well for people for whom that may be all they can afford. Again, if we're talking about more of a cash pay type of model. So that's also a great strategy and something that worked for me, even in my own practice for years and years. Good for you. I think that's great. I love how you've gotten quite a reputation here for, I guess, skin related autoimmune, which certainly there's a lot of interconnectedness there. That's a juicy one that is not being well served at all.
Well, Tracy, it's funny you mentioned that because I know you know my story, but I started out having my own autoimmune skin disease. I had chronic urticaria for over 2
that's right.
years.
Yeah.
I was a mess with it. And what's really gratifying to me is helping people overcome it. But one of the things that SAFM offers is the opportunity to do lab tests on yourself before you do it on other people, your clients or patients. And I learned all the root drivers of my urticaria, and I'm happy to say I've been in complete remission for the past 5 years as a result, without a single hive, which is just amazing after suffering mightily for so many years. So that alone for me was worth the price of admission.
Well, there's nothing quite like having your own journey, right? And I appreciate that a lot of practitioners have that. And how awesome, right? What a blessing out of suffering. I'm blessed to say I did not have that for myself, but certainly my husband had just, highly debilitating catatonic seizures out of the blue. The whole, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, lifelong medication is the best you can hope for. That was just not going to happen on my watch. And having him step by step, 100% get at the root causes and fully recover and have that whole experience be way, way back in the rearview mirror. is so galvanizing, the blessings, the inspiration that comes out of those terrifying or highly debilitating experiences. I think it's something that can in its own way be a gift that informs and lights us up, especially on the days where this journey is harder.
Definitely. And the story is so amazing. What happened with your husband? I'm glad you brought that up. But I'm curious.
I talked about it in the toxicity class, actually.
I know.
That was a heavy metal nightmare, but yeah, I mean, it was a good example of, you know what it is, Jody, is it's a good example of just how powerful and intelligent and resilient the human organism is, that the human body is not weak or broken or doomed to disease, but that if we will actually just thoroughly understand what has interfered with and dysregulated the extremely adaptive and resilient human physiology and biochemistry, the body will find resilient health again, and it will maintain it with the right level of support. It's incredible, actually, and it certainly flies in the face of a lot of the common public health and community health messages that most people have heard, and it forms their belief system about how reliable their body is or isn't. And so, yeah, when people start to feel inspired and to hope that it might be possible to make this debilitating disease dynamic actually improve dramatically and ideally actually go away, it flies in the face a lot of what a lot of our common sociocultural expectations are. It's why it's so important that people, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of practitioners around the world, we've got to be doing this work, because the people in our practices, just people, the people we love, our friends, our family, our neighbors, their belief system about medicine, about health, is not going to be changed by highfalutin messages, whether they come from me or you or from the government or some other third-party authority. Their belief system is transformed by seeing, by experiencing with their own eyes what is possible in someone they know. And this is why having us all get out and do this work, so that the awareness of it becomes organically a movement of higher expectations for resilient health. That's what's going to transform people's belief systems, and therefore the possibilities that they reach for, as opposed to unknowingly settling for, well, you know, mom and dad had type 2 diabetes, so it's just a matter of time before I got it, and I'm probably going to die of a heart attack too, just like they did. But, you know, that's life. Oh, it's painful to me. So much more is possible, but we have to make it happen. We have to have an impact. And that's my biggest reason for being. It's SAFM's reason for being. It's about impact, actually doing the work. I don't want to be a bastion of learning. I don't want to be an ivory tower or the repository of a whole bunch of science that people admire and they can spout, but they don't do anything transformative with it for themselves and for thousands of other patients. I'm here for the impact. I'm here for the transformation, because it is time. It is time, my friends. The only way healthcare, especially here in the US, is ever going to be affordable is if it's truly effective in reversing disease dynamics, not just alleviating them, but actually reversing them, and as much as possible preventing them. It's that higher bar that I think we're all passionate about, that we've got to not just talk about, we got to go for it.
I love that. And we see that every day in my practice, and in all my colleagues, the graduates of SAFM. I see this impact every day, and these incredible results that they're getting for their patients and clients. But I agree, it needs to be on a bigger scale. More people need to know that this is available and that you don't have disease is not an indictment. It's not something that you have to live with. This is much of it, so much of it, and almost all of it is reversible. And you just have to know how to do it. And that's what this school teaches. Somebody asked, what is SAFM? And I will say it is an advanced functional medicine training program that culminates in a certification. So if you're looking for that kind of knowledge, this is definitely the program for you, with deep, rich knowledge in functional medicine. But a couple more questions, Tracy. I know we're going to run out of time here. But
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, please. And you know me, I can just, I get so excited. I could just keep talking all day, but I want to make sure we answer all the questions that are being raised.
You and I both. So somebody asked, actually, maybe you could just touch on what continuing education credits are available.
So we are accredited for CMEs for 3 different organizations presently, including the ACCME. And the level 1 semester in our program is valid for 50 category 1 credits, and the second level semester for another 50. And then once you're certified, you have the ability to use individual clinical courses for continuing education as well. And there are a couple of dozen of those available. You can also get continuing education credits for our workshops and for our retreats. We do deep clinical dives on our retreats, which are super fun. But we also are on track to add 2 more accreditations to that list by the end of the year as well. But
and I think we already have secured the ANCC certification, so nurses can get continuing education credits as well.
And the ACCME credits, obviously that applies for physicians and nurse practitioners. And then a number of other medical practitioners are able to petition for cross acceptance to their board. We've seen that happen a number of times. But I've got a list of the top 10 modalities, and I'm committed to continuing to pursue the accreditations for all of those. They're expensive and they're a lot of work, but it's a serious value that our students need. And so we're committed to continuing to add more of those for the top modalities in the school. At present, nurse practitioners are our most populous modality, but like I said, we have 21. So I really want to have a rich diversity of accreditations.
Wonderful. And also the deadline for applying, I know, is coming up. I believe it's at the end of August on the 26th. But I know there's a special cutoff on applications where there's a little bit of an incentive going on now. I believe it is tonight at 11:59. Correctly.
Yeah,
no pressure, anybody.
Hot off the presses, no. But seriously, if I will just say this: if there are people watching who may have done your due diligence and you feel like SAFM is for you, please do register today, so you can take advantage of that, the lowest tuition. There's bonus open Q&A, case review discussions coming up, and if you change your mind once your application is accepted and you register, if you change your mind, you can withdraw. We have a very liberal withdrawal policy, and a refund policy. I don't want anyone to feel trapped by their registration at all. Part of why we changed up the program is we want to be sure that folks who enroll in the program and move forward, that it's a perfect fit. It lights them up. And so there's very generous, there's a whole set of FAQs on our website actually that talk about this, but there's a very generous withdrawal and refund policy. You can check that out. But if you're, even if you're not 100% sure, but really close, I would encourage you to go ahead and apply and register and experience some of the initial resources. if you change your mind or if something happens, you can withdraw. You can take a look at the timeframes for that. But yes, the current lowest tuition is available right now. And I will say another change that we made with this new program, this singular distillation of the single training program, also now has a singular tuition, a one-time tuition, and you can pay in full, or there's a number of different payment programs. But I want to explain, just to share that one of the motivations for doing that was for ease, because it truly is all encompassing. Something that I don't like, unfortunately, about some of our lovely colleague offerings in the educational world is that you pay for the components of their program on an individual basis, and they add up really quickly before you know it. And then their whole certification process is really expensive, several hundred or even thousands of dollars to pay to get certified. We include every step of certification, and if you do it on time, even your recertification, it's all included in the pricing. There's no nickel and diming or thousands of dollaring later on. I don't like that practice. It doesn't feel high. It doesn't feel integrous to me. But I can only speak for us. Everything is all included. All of the certification processes, the exam reviews and support, it's all included, so that you don't have to worry about what's going to come later. And again, what we offer at SAFM is not a short, 3-month, well, certainly not 1 week, but not even a 3-month or a 6-month program. If you want to spend what's typical at SAFM, maybe 10 to 12 hours a week doing this program, minus vacation and holidays, what we offer is about like a master's degree. It takes about 2.5 years to complete. This is not a short few month program, because the deep learning and study that we know you need to be successful actually doing this work is not something you're going to accomplish in 6 months. I have yet to see that done. And so we've learned over a past decade what components of education are optional and certainly could be pursued, but what parts you must master in order to have good, rich capability and authentic confidence. And so it's not something you can do quickly if you really want to transform your practice and really do this work. So it's a singular investment for that entire experience, so that you're not surprised. We certainly have optional things. You can choose to go on a retreat or not, right? You can choose to experience other bonus clinical courses and that type of thing. But as far as our full curriculum, it's a singular tuition investment. Just like if you were embarking on a master's degree, you would know right up front what your investment was and what you were going to receive for that. And I want all of our prospective students to have that level of clarity. And maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but for sure, I want you to have high integrity clarity on what it is so that you can decide whether it's an ideal fit for you or not.
Yeah, that's great, Tracy. And just so you guys know, you can start using what you're learning in your practice right away. So just know that this is not something that you need to wait 2.5 years before you can apply it to your practice.
Oh, yeah.
That people see the 2.5 years and they say, oh my gosh, that is so long. But no, you are learning from the very first class and you're using it in your practice and you're already getting results.
Yeah. And in fact, an application requirement is that all of our students have some sort of an active practice. It may not be a functional practice. It may be some other type of clinical model. You may work in a hospital system. You may work in a clinic. You may or may not be doing the work today exactly how you want to do it in the future. And in fact, lots of our students change their business model or their clinical model as part of the transformation. that they experience at SAFM, but no one is thinking about being a practitioner. No one is still in the middle of getting their foundational training. Everyone has an active professional practice. Everyone already has the appropriate license or certification for their chosen modality, so that everyone is in the pool doing the work. And to your point, Jody, has access to a practice, to people, supporting people on a regular basis, where you can begin to progressively apply what you're learning. And that also gives people freedom. Again, if you already have, say, an IFM certification and you come to SAFM, you already know a lot. And what you are learning from SAFM is that deep, rich, devil in the detail know-how to apply this huge bastion of knowledge that you have. We have a number of students like that. And so, yes, I fully expect you to begin to, or continue rather, to apply what you're learning on a day-over-day basis as your knowledge and your capability gets deeper and richer.
And when Tracy says active practice, just know that even if you don't have autonomy in your practice, for example, if you're a nurse or a nurse practitioner who doesn't have autonomy, or needs a collaborative physician, you are still in an active practice. That is not.
Oh, sure.
Be an entrepreneur. A lot of people have that distinction.
Totally. Or someone who is involved in healthcare, right? In regular engagement with patients or clients, right? So pharmacists, we have a lot of pharmacists at SAFM. It's another one. It's another very populous modality. Pharmacists, PAs. I think PAs are particularly well positioned. They have such rich experience to bring to functional medicine. But yes, absolutely. It's not about running a practice. It's not about having an entrepreneurial practice. What we're looking for, though, is people who have clinical opportunities to some degree to apply what they're learning on an ongoing basis.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tracy. This has been wonderful to have you on. There's a bunch of questions down below, and we'll try to answer those as we go. But I want to just thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's been so life-changing for me and my practice. I can't even imagine trying to do this work without having gone through the program and being even a fraction as effective as I am now at what I do, because the program really prepares you to have confidence to be able to work with anybody who comes to you with just about any condition. And it's just amazing. It's been such a blessing for me. And I want to thank you so much for all the work that you're doing.
Awesome. You're very welcome, Jody. Thank you for the opportunity to share. And again, I hope I hope I've offered some pearls today that regardless of where people seek education or training or self-education, right? However folks might pursue their own unique path to doing this work, I want to thank all of you for doing it, for choosing not to be on the sidelines of healthcare transformation, but actually in it, in the thick of it. Again, it takes courage and commitment. And I want to thank all of you to do that. And I hope I've added some pearls today about doing the work to hopefully prevent overwhelm. I think the biggest problem functional medicine has right now is potential overwhelm of practitioners. And that's something that practically we've got to resolve and support one another to peel back or to avoid, so that we can do this work with fulfillment and balance in our lives and enthusiasm. Way too much burnout and overwhelm in the functional medicine world right now. And so I appreciate platforms like this that allow folks to interact. But I hope this has been of service in some way. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And those of you who are not familiar with SAFM, and if you'd like a free 4-part series, which is about 8 hours of free content that Tracy put together, I put it in the comments below already. The series is called The True Root Causes of Disease, and it will give you a good idea of what Tracy's classes feel like, not so much the live interactive classes, but more the webinar style classes. And you get, the written transcripts and the audio version. So it's designed for different learning styles as well. So definitely check that out. I put the link below, and maybe I'll see some of you in the school this September. Take care, Tracy. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jody. Have a good day.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.